right. Hey guys, I'm Chris. I'm a lifelong techie. I've helped 20 or so startups raise Series A funding. I had a chance to work with Facebook pre-IPO, so some pretty fun stuff on the startup side. Also worked with some big corporates like IBM and Nike and helped them launch some pretty cool products and businesses as well. And today, my job at BCG Digital Ventures is to hire people like you to go work with some cool corporates like Allergan and go create some startups inside of the business world.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. It's my first time at Startup Grind, so hi everyone. I love being around that entrepreneurial, innovative, frenetic energy. I actually have co-founded 3 companies, Guilt, Glam Squad, a company called Fits, which sold to Tradesy last year. And I know we're gonna get into this, but a year ago exactly, I went from being an entrepreneur to, I guess what you could call an intrapreneur. So joined a big company called Allergan, and with the help and support of BCG and BCG Digital Ventures, we've really been transforming a lot within a large biopharmaceutical company.
Wow, you guys weren't expecting that. All that and Botox. That's what we're going to hear today. So we thought, Alexandra and I, we've been doing this for over a year, working with Allergan to launch some cool new businesses there in that world. We thought it'd be interesting to talk about life doing a corporate-backed venture versus a venture-backed venture and expose some of that and talk about that today. So Alexandra, you've been on both sides, but on the venture side, you've been part of some pretty high-flying, high-profile startups, Guilt and Glam Squad, obviously. What helped for these folks go down the path of that journey that you took to move from that venture-backed world to the corporate-backed world, and how you decided to take this role with Allergan?
Sure, so it wasn't like this very calculated master plan of, well, been here, done that, therefore I want to do something quite different. It wasn't like that at all. And I feel like so many chapters of my career path have really been a series of conversations with different people in different industries that give me the confidence to make a change and do something different. I think for me as a personality, boredom is really what kills me and the kiss of death. So if I can be in situations where I'm constantly learning and it's not routine, that's really what gets me excited. And so I also failed to mention in the beginning, I've been involved in about 50 other startups, either as an angel or an advisor, mentor, what have you. So love really kind of shaping and helping early stage businesses get to that inflection point and hopefully to that hockey stick. So the way I ended up at Allergan was really through a conversation at BCG that I had with a partner there. He introduced me to a man named Bill Murray, who's the chief commercial officer for Allergan. He's now my boss. And for those of you who don't know what Allergan is, because a lot of consumers maybe don't know the name of the parent company, but you probably know some of the drugs and devices that we do own. It's a 16 billion revenue biopharmaceutical company. We own Botox, Juvederm, Cool Sculpting, Skin Medica, lots of medical aesthetics products to really preserve youth, I guess, for women and men. Right. And then we have a number of portfolio drugs in other therapeutic areas, including eye care, general medicine, and central nervous system.
Cool. So I mean, what I've seen over the last 5 years is a continuous growing trend of corporates playing the startup game. So I saw the latest report in 2018, corporate VCs backed 30% of all startup funding last year. It's just a trend that continues to grow. We see that a lot. You've seen both worlds what's the difference, the biggest differences between working for a corporate as your sponsor, as your funding partner versus the venture world?
So I'm wary of making generalizations about kind of corporate ventures versus startups, because all of you in startups right now, if you compared stories, I'm sure you'd find a lot of similarities, but also tons of differences. And I think it's the same way in kind of the corporate-backed world. I think big differences for what I'm experiencing with Allergan. One is the incredible resources that we have access to. So that's certainly deep pockets. We were able to hire Boston Consulting Group and BCG Digital Ventures to help really kickstart this process. We're building 3 different ventures it's a little confusing, but we call the team that I lead Moonwalker, Project Moonwalker, Moonwalker Ventures, which is really a digital ventures hub within the company. We have our own office in New York City, and we've launched one startup already, which is called Spotlight. Hopefully you guys will check it out if you're interested in beauty and potentially aesthetics. The website is The Spotlight with a YTE at the end, and we're really active on Instagram. We have another venture that's launching super soon. Can't tell you too much about that, but we've worked very closely on that, and that'll be a game changer in beauty and medical aesthetics. And then we have a pretty intense business that's really a backbone of analytics, and we're calling that Allergan Data Labs. So those are the 3 ventures that within a year we've really gotten up and running. I think one area that has been a huge learning for me, and I think you would find this in industries like pharma and healthcare and maybe financial services, is there's a tremendous amount of regulation in these industries. And I think as an entrepreneur who's coming in and it has this attitude of like, let's make things happen and let's do it now and yesterday and move forward and take action and make decisions quickly and let's be agile and all these great techniques that I think most of you probably use in the audience, because we're in a very regulated industry, there are very important reasons for which we can't always move that quickly. And so what I had to learn in the first few months is to understand really why we're being told no sometimes. And it's not no because people feel like being a jerk. It's no for truly important reasons. And I think what's been helpful for me and to the team that we've hired is when someone says no, the most important reaction we can have is to understand the why. And if we understand the why properly, then we can kind of tweak what we're working on and thinking to eventually get to yes.
That actually reminded me that you get different highs in different moments when you're doing the venture-backed startup, when like you're sleeping on your friend's couch, eating ramen, you're just praying that you're gonna be able to cover the rest of the team. There are a couple people who aren't very well funded, I can tell. Keep it going. But you get a different, you still have amazing challenges when you're doing this inside of a corporate. I remember, for me, one of the biggest highlights was when the Spotlight team made that breakthrough with that legal and regulatory process. And this is not an embellishment or exaggeration, but it would take Allergan, about 3 months to be able to approve content and materials to be able to ship and use for marketing. Dead silence here in this room.
No,
They can't imagine
correct.
anything that can possibly take 3 months. And it was amazing when you guys covered the Golden Globes a couple weeks ago. You guys were doing live content reactions in less than 24 hours. So huge breakthrough. That's probably the thing I'm most proud of, I think, one of the big breakthroughs. How about for you? Like, what's been the biggest thing you've been proudest of or the best moment you've had so far?
Yeah, no, so I am very proud of the team. Golden Globes was a great example. This weekend we had the Grammys, and I remember when I was kind of talking about Spotlight to people, I said, we're never going to be a breaking news content site because of all the, every single word that is in our social media or our site, spotlight.com, thespotlight.com, everything is reviewed by medical, legal, regulatory, and compliance. So there's no way we could ever be breaking news. And yet we rallied together, we fixed and created new processes, which I will tell you were very foreign for a lot of traditional folks in pharma, but but they've rallied together. And we were putting out real-time content covering, that amazing moment that if anyone saw the Grammys, like Alicia Keys and Michelle Obama and J-Lo and Lady Gaga all on stage, like we were right there with them. So I was really proud that we could be part of this moment that we knew that our readers would be interested in, and we had a different angle. It wasn't like, oh, here's what they're wearing and here's what they're saying. It was like interviewing the estheticians who did the facial for Katy Perry the day before she went to the Grammys and whatnot. So really kind of cool, interesting angle. But at the end of the day, what I'm really proud of is the team we've assembled. So, a lot of people who know me well, whether as a friend or professionally, were like, why are you going to work for big pharma? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, you know what? I'm really inspired by the opportunity. I think there's so much that I don't know, so I have so much to learn, and I love learning. There's also so much value I can add, and I'm really inspired by our CEO and our Chief Commercial Officer, who I'd be working closely with. So, and what I'm really proud of is that I attracted awesome talent. So if you come visit us, 261 Madison Avenue, New York City. You would think you're walking into a tech startup. We have our engineers, we have our performance marketers, we have our beauty editorial team, we have kind of this like shared services team. It really feels like totally modern and exciting, and I think people wouldn't have anticipated that a pharmaceutical company would interest that type of talent and attract that type of talent.
So in case you guys haven't picked up the world of pharmaceuticals, big disruption opportunity. Lots of startup ideas in this space, wink, wink. So, I mean, you've really been a disruptor throughout your career. We talked about this kind of in jumping on board. That's something you felt was very essential and important to the role, that you could continue to do that. I mean, you've been, especially in the beauty and fashion space with Glam Squad and now with Moonwalker. But inside of Allergan, you've had a different view of disruption from inside the four walls. Any secrets or lessons learned that you have for these folks about disruption and how to be a disruptor?
Yeah, so now this word is, so used so much. I think, like, if I think back to the early days of Gilt, like I've never approached any of the opportunities I've gotten involved in as like, I want to disrupt this industry. It's more like,
that's me.
Why can't, X, Y, and Z be better for me as a consumer? And like, let's make my life better. And I'm sure if I can make my life better and easier with some awesome value proposition, I'm sure there are hundreds of other people and thousands, and in the case of Gilt, it really became millions. And that's how I like to approach things. And I think in this world of social media and certainly the Jenners and the Kardashians and all these women and men who are, in the age of the selfie and taking so many images of themselves, people have a lot of questions, and the questions are starting young about, what are injectables? What is medical aesthetics? Is it safe? How much does it cost? Who should I go to? If I did it, will I look natural? The list goes on. And so I felt like it was the responsibility of this company, Allergan, to help educate consumers. If you go to Spotlight, you'll see no mention of the drugs and devices we own. It's not about Botox. It's not about Juvederm. It's really about educating consumers on options out there. And if you have a sunspot that bothers you, or a wrinkle that bothers you, or you have melasma after having a baby, whatever the case might be, we have content that really addresses so many of these questions that many women and men around the world have.
Probably one of the biggest advantages or assets that we had to work with was brand. I mean, Botox, it is the category. Some people think that's just what the category is called. It's the brand name. And so they invented it. They are the Kleenex of the category, which is super powerful. They built it over 30 years or so. It's very, very powerful. We talked about, but it was equally important to get branding right for Spotlight and for venture not to be named. Talk a little bit about the importance of branding for you in building an early stage business and what it's meant.
Yeah, so this is the stuff that I get really, really excited about, and it was really such a pleasure to work with members of your team on the branding and the positioning. I've worked with, I think for those of you building a startup, you'll know what I mean. I think if you have someone who's awesome in product, meaning tech product, and awesome in design, you are off to the races. If you have someone who is subpar in either of those roles, I mean, it could be game over for your business. And I have worked with people subpar, and through BCG, we just worked with like top talent, which was amazing because we got so many people together to really brainstorm, what should Spotlight be called? Initially, we had other names. We called it the new me, the new you, the new anyway, we got to Spotlight. And in the past couple of startups I've worked on, sometimes we say it's actually not so much about the name. The name is important, and in this day and age, it's not just the name, it's the URL, it's all the social handles, it's making sure the spelling is kind of recognizable. But what's most important is how you fill that name. And I worked for Louis Vuitton actually years ago, right out of business school, and I worked for the US CEO, and I remember we would go on visits to all the luxury kind of malls and avenues across the country, and he would always say to me in his French accent, explaining like, a true luxury brand has to have 100 years of heritage, and you can't build a luxury brand in less than 100 years. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, like I don't have 100 years. And you know what? I mean, there's probably some truth in that. But that was also back in 2004, and the world has changed. And I think through technology and through so much talent in kind of tech, creative, and product, and really innovative minds all coming together, I think you can build a brand fast. And that's something we did with Gilt. That's something we did with Glam Squad. It's definitely something we're doing with Spotlight and the soon to be announced next venture.
I want to pick up on something we were talking about earlier about the team. You're very proud of the team, and the team is amazing. I've witnessed firsthand what I think one of your superpowers, which is recruiting and getting great talent to follow you and come on board to pursue a dream. And within 6 months, we had hired 50, almost 75 people, right, across different ventures or so. What advice could you give these folks about recruiting, in particular, an amazingly diverse team and female leadership?
I could talk about this all day long. So I know you always like to bring up our female stat. So I looked it up this morning, hot off the presses. 68% of our team right now is female, which is pretty cool. And that's not conscious, that's unconscious. That's just like, we recruit, we're interviewing people, and it's, the best, combination of experience, talent, passion, being a really good puzzle fit to skills that the existing team doesn't have. But most of the leaders in our different areas, the majority of my leadership team, they happen to be women, and also there's a lot of diversity in addition to gender diversity. So I'm proud of that. It's I'd love to see more female engineers, but we all have to work on that together. So we have a few, but that's less than 50% for sure. I think I'm I know the word gets overused, kind of the networking word, but that's very much a part of who I am. And I meet somebody, I immediately want to take their contact information. I look them up in LinkedIn. I try to stay in touch with people for authentic reasons. It's not for kind of a manipulative reason. I just have always been a collector of people. My phone literally has 22,000 contacts in it right now, and I do think that what goes around comes around. When people ask you for help and you help them, there's gonna be a moment when you need help. And so whether that's recruiting, hiring, fundraising, could be dating, who knows? Having a diverse network, I think is so important, and that can apply to mentors, that can apply to all kinds of opportunities. And so, for all of us who are here today, it's upon us to meet as many people as we can while we're here, not worry about the emails that you have to respond to in the moment, but meet people, stay in touch with them, and I believe in karma. What goes around comes around.
All right, you know what? we have a few seconds left. Let's just go off script. When should these people start to think about getting Botox?
Ooh. I think that, self-care is very personal, and I think that everyone should do what's right for themselves. And if there's something about you, whatever that thing might be, that you want to enhance, you should get advice, whether you go to a local healthcare provider, a dermatologist, a plastic surgeon, and get advice, figure out what your options are, ask all the questions that you want. If you don't know where to go, Spotlight is really the best place. We have a confidential chat, so you can ask any questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and we can really guide you confidentially through the process and connect you to a local expert. But I am not a doctor, so I'm not about to tell anybody anything. And again, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. It's Spotlight with a Y, guys. Thanks.